First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here back in my home state of Alabama. Let's see what I can tell you. Sometimes I think the best place to start is with a problem. I was the CEO of the second largest IT firm in Tennessee for over a decade, and I retired, and that lasted about 30 minutes. Watching TV, I found, is not going to be my hobby for the rest of my life. So my wife said, well, you need to do something. What do you want to do? So I volunteered to help our county pro bono with some of their IT issues and so on. And one of the large issues that we face, Robertson County is in the northwestern part of Tennessee. It's part of the Cumberland Plateau. And they lose cellular coverage very easily in that terrain. And one of the problems that you have with fire and police and sheriffs and so on is you got a guy out there at 2 a.m. in the morning and he can't use his license plate reader. He doesn't know if that car is stolen. He doesn't know if there's an arrest warrant, and it's really dangerous. And so my goal was to see if we could come up with a way to fix that problem. In working with one of my colleagues in London, who has designed about 1,100 antenna systems, we were able to take a piece of plywood. When we say research, we're talking about Southern research here, boys and girls. Take a piece of plywood, build our antenna array, get a cardboard box and put some elements in it, and we discovered that there was nowhere in our county we couldn't get a signal. And since then, we've worked on to improve the signal strength and signal quality. So with that, let me get into what we're trying to do. First responder problems. Having voice and data connectivity in remote areas that normally do not have cellular coverage. This is not a magic box. It doesn't create cellular signals, but it also doesn't amplify signals. The problem with signal amplification is when you amplify a signal, you also amplify the noise, and your signal quality becomes very, very poor. So we wanted to natively take those signals and capture those signals. And one of the ways you can do that is through, it's funny, I gotta just tell you this. People ask me all the time, why is it that I can't get a signal on my cell phone? Well, you've got about a 1 3/4 inch piece of wire versus an antenna array. And there's a huge difference in that. So if you build antenna arrays in a certain fashion, and by the way, the distances between those antennas are extremely important. It's not like, it looks nice in the case. It's very important how you arrange antennas in an array. So basically, that's the problem we were trying to solve. What's been interesting just goes to show you that you think you know and you find out, even at 64, you find out you don't know. We built this for remote areas. 2/3 of the antennas we sell are for failover. We just sold one to the chairman of the Federal Reserve, CEO in the Boston area. And we're like, wait a minute, you're in Washington, you're in Philadelphia, you're in New York. What's remote about that? And he's like, I just want if the lights go out and everything, goes bye-bye. I can open a case, flip a switch because it contains its own power source, and I know I've got network. I mean, it was that simple. So even though the product was not intended for that, that seems to be where the market has taken us. So network failure due to wind or power. What we're trying to do is have voice and data connectivity, and this bad boy is fast. Don't kid yourself. It's very fast. And people say, what can you do with it? And I'm like, well, what can you do in your 802.11 network at home? This contains 802.11a, b, g, n, and ac. And everything is MIMO. If you notice, there are 4 of these like pepper shaker antennas. That's so that we have MIMO. What a lot of people don't realize about MIMO is when you incorporate MIMO, you literally double the speed. So we're MIMO wireless, which allows you to have AC, and we're also MIMO cellular. Oh, and by the way, this box has 2 cellular carriers in it. Just in case the tornado gets one, maybe it won't get the other. So this box right here has a Verizon SIM card in it, and it also has an AT&T SIM card in it. Okay, let's move on. Well, there's a picture. but you can see the live thing. Some interesting things about this. Now, I visited the Defense Supply Command, and they have a ruggedness test. You have to drop it 4 feet on 2 inches of plywood over concrete, la 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 la. We drop it from a helicopter. And we have a video on our site where you get to see us drop it from a helicopter. I don't know what it is about first responders, but they could tear up an anvil with a rubber hammer. They are just ingenious. As a matter of fact, I was telling the guy that I met at the Defense Supply Command, like, if you want a real ruggedized test, I have a cousin that I can't loan anything he can't tear up in 15 minutes. Just send it to him. So anyway, there's some real challenges when you try to do this. You notice there's no bolts going through the case. The reason for that is well, there's many reasons for that. One of them is you just destroy the waterproofing of the case. Another reason is every time you create a connection and antenna, you increase noise. You can't stack it. The fireman will break it off. I mean, there's a lot of reasons you don't want to put antennas on the outside of a case. Also, you have to be very careful in eliminating EMI, because when you have the antennas this close to a 32,000 mAh power source, I got an EMI problem. Well, my son, who has a master's in electrical engineering, was kind enough to spend a few days with me and figured that out. We now have no EMI. So these are all the things. So you got antennas, a gateway, and by the way, let me make sure I say this. For you guys who are creating all these wonderful programs, you're creating all of these great things. I'm just a communication device, but you guys are the real deal. And I really respect you and thank you for what you're doing. You're going to save somebody's life. So I thank you. I want to make sure I said that. And by the way, we have security. If you go on our website, you'll see 20 different areas of security, VPN, et cetera, et cetera. You can have IPsec, has an IDS, an IPS, has a firewall. You can MAC filter, IP filter. You can use Zscaler. For those guys who are really progressive in their WAN filtering, you can do that.